What if I told you that Squid Game actually happened? There is a theory that a real-life event inspired the Netflix show, an event so horrific that has been called one of the darkest moments in South Korean history. This is the story of prisoners in number tracksuits, terrifying accounts of people forced to play games, and a malicious frontman who profited from their suffering. This is the story of the Brothers Home facility. For the average Korean, Brothers Home appeared to be just another detention center. One of the biggest in South Korea, everyone saw it as a place for rehabilitation, but few could imagine that it was behind the recent disappearances of children and young adults across the country. The facility was part of the government's effort to crack down on homelessness, and it was not uncommon to see vans drive across the nation's cities, picking up vagrants and taking them away. During 1981, South Korea pledged to host the 1988 Olympics in Seoul, and the nation immediately began preparing for the Games. Like many host countries before and since this story, South Korea cannot afford to look bad while the whole world was watching. Cracking down further, the government now offered bonuses to police officers to capture vagrants. This resulted in more people being picked off the street, and it wasn't long before the definition of a vagrant began to expand. If you were caught drinking in public, sleeping on public transportation, or were a child spotted in public without your parents, you were deemed a vagrant. And that was how a lot of people ended up in Brothers Home. If you were lower class and you didn't have anyone who would miss you, the police would not hesitate to take you in. And if there was someone who cared for you, what would they do? Call the police? They were the ones running the operation. At its peak, only 10% of the Brothers Home occupants were homeless, housing thousands of innocent children, teenagers, and adults. Each person was given a sloppy haircut, assigned a tracksuit and number, and had their mugshot taken. From then on, they were only referred to by their number. Any mistake was enough for the guards to beat them with their clubs. Marched out of sync, beat up. Not standing up straight, beat up. The entire day for a Brothers Home prisoner consisted of hard labor, and if you were slacking off for even a few seconds, you could expect a club to come bashing down upon your head. Just completely evil stuff. And this is not even discussing the games. The guards would punish prisoners in the form of childlike games, similar to what is shown in Squid Game. And like Squid Game, if you lose, you will get punished. And this means being beaten by the guards, and on occasion, even to the point of death. One game was called the Han River Bridge, where prisoners had to get on all fours and line up, and the guards would walk on top of this human bridge until someone moved. If you could not hold up the guard walking on top of you, you were beaten. Another was called Hiroshima, where the prisoners would have to hang upside down from their beds, and as blood began to rush to their brains, it was not uncommon for people to fall and land on their faces. Other stress positions were also common, such as kneeling while having your face on the ground, and if you even twitched, you were beaten. Another was the kimbap roll. Similar to the dish of the same name, people were instructed to roll themselves in a rug, and as they rolled across the floor, the guards would beat them on the chest, their legs, and their exposed head. Another is named motor vehicle, where the prisoner is instructed to turn on their left signal and right signal, and as they moved their arms to follow this command, they would get beaten on that side. Others were less creative, like cavalry, where two people have to fistfight until one is on the brink of death, or instances where the guards decided that beating people with boards soaked in salt water was enough. Now, you can probably tell there is no real winner in these games, and you were lucky to get out with a few bruises. However, the less fortunate were often left with broken ribs, missing teeth, concussions, and in some cases, even losing their lives. I should also add that there were multiple instances where guards would commit essay against both adults and children. However, this video is dark enough, and I'm not going to dive deeper into this. Feel free to research this on your own. In 1986, a local hunter took some photos of Brothers Home prisoners building a new facility, and was shocked to see that the guards were openly beating them with clubs. This discovery snowballed into the facility being raided shortly after, and a safe was found, containing $5.5 million. From that point on, the true nature of Brothers Home was truly revealed to the world. Innocent people of sound mind were in the facility, and they were forced to work hard labor for the facility's profit. Upon closer inspection, It seemed that every design choice for the facility was to increase profit for, forgive the comparison, the frontman of Brothers Home, Park In-Guen. Park In-Guen was the director and ran the facility alongside his family. Almost nothing is known about Park's life before the facility, beside the fact that he was a boxer. Nevertheless, he was a complete monster. Firstly, the facility would sell products made by the prisoners, ranging from fishhooks to clothes, and if the quota was not met, these workers would be beaten. Secondly, whenever someone died, the facility would take advantage and harvest the body's organs and sell them for profit, which is another major plot point from Squid Game. We don't have a solid idea of how many people died due to bad records, but it is easily in the thousands. Though the South Korean government thought the prisoners were eaten a healthy amount, funds to feed the prisoners were embezzled, and they were forced to eat the bare minimum. And if that is not bad enough, the facility would send children abroad, primarily girls, to adoption agencies as another source of income. Most of these girls had parents waiting for them at home, but the facility would lie and claim they were orphans. And if that does not make you sick to your stomach, Lim Young-soon, a pastor and Park's brother-in-law, was able to market the facility as a Christian charity and was able to get funding and donations from all across the globe. Like many South Koreans, many foreigners did not see through the facade, and Park's family would pocket any money and sell any donations of clothing and other products to outside stores. Brothers Home had a giant church on its grounds, built by forced labor of course, and it was here that Lim would preach. It is also a place where Park would publicly punish wrongdoers, especially people who tried to escape, in front of the whole prison. He would grab boxing gloves and say, "In the name of Jesus, you are being punished," and absolutely destroy them. No matter if you were a guard or a prisoner, if Park gave a command, you listened. Park may have claimed to be a devout Christian, but he weaponized religion to maintain control. Despite all his praise for Jesus and God, he was the one forced to be worshipped at Brothers Home. However, Park will learn he was not a god outside of the facility walls. After the raid, he was charged with embezzlement and illegal confinement. Now, justice will be served. However, South Korea was not the democracy it is today, but a dictatorship under Chun Do-hwan. Having requested the removal of vagrants in the first place, he happened to be friends with Park, and was able to halt further investigation into his case. The legal confinement charge was dropped, and he was sentenced to 2.5 years for embezzling government funds. Park spent the Olympics in jail, but he was released in 1989 and returned to run Brothers Home, renaming it Jobs Village. He shortly obtained an Australian visa, and he and his family fled South Korea and bought some houses and a golf course with the rest of their blood money. Despite the atrocities, the South Korean government did not apologize until 2018. In 2021, the South Korean Truth and Reconciliation Commission was formed and began investigating thoroughly what exactly happened while Brothers Home was in operation. Since the government heavily censored the Brothers Home case during the 80s, not many Koreans have heard of this story. However, Squid Game shares so many connections with this event that the internet immediately began to learn more about the facility. However, it should be noted that Hwang Dong-hyuk, the director and mastermind behind Squid Game, has never directly cited Brothers Home as an inspiration for the show, but honestly, I don't think it really matters. Be it a coincidence or not, both stories act as social commentary, and Squid Game has successfully made the world aware, either directly or indirectly, of these crimes against humanity. As for Director Park, he was threatened with a prison sentence in 2014, but he was able to be dismissed on account of his dementia. Park passed away in 2016. His remaining family is still living in Australia. Preacher Lim still preaches at his local church, and they all live off the remaining money earned from Brothers Home. Thank you for watching, and subscribe to Bogoland for more crazy stories.